So the reasons why we think we need to change something is first that although we have a number of really good programs, there's not really coherence behind why we have started these programs. So there's not really a strategy behind our portfolio. And the reason for that is that a lot of the programs have emerged from decentralized initiatives, which is actually a good thing because it also matches the qualities of our researchers. So people started programs in which they're good in. But one thing that we have forgotten is to really see in how far these programs are coherent with each other, whether we're cannibalizing other programs, and whether we're really covering everything that should be covered. That's the one thing from the portfolio perspective. Another thing that we also have discovered is that there is not really ownership for a program, meaning that at the moment there's too much focus on course level. So there's the course coordinators that take a lot of decisions, but sometimes we forget that everything has to fit within one program. Of course, it has been done, but not from an SPE perspective. We have been taking care that there is a market for each program, but we still have not really looked into what does this mean for our strategy. So what are we actually standing for? I think the most important challenge that we face and will face is that we will have to also discontinue some programs. Discontinuation is always a big problem because people have the feeling that this is a bad thing. But actually what we want to convey is that it's a good thing, because you only can start new things and make room for new programs if you also reconsider the old ones, and maybe also close some programs. And this, of course, is a big challenge, and this is why we are at the moment really trying to come up with a good and fair procedure of evaluating all of our programs, and then come up with a fair way of maybe, potentially, it's not clear yet, but also closing some to make room for new ones. I think what we have to try also better is to market our programs better and underline the unique value of each of the programs. And there, what we had also been discovering in the last weeks is that the faculty and staff, we are not working, including the management team, we are not working close enough with the marketing people that are trained and are the experts in communication. So very often, of course, the staff members, the faculty members who are the experts in the content, they just write down what they think is the most important thing, and this is actually right. But sometimes this is not how you can communicate with students, especially if you don't know what all the other programs are writing. So I think that's also one of the most important things in this renewal of the master portfolio, is that we involve marketing communications more in not only communicating our programs, but also the naming of the programs, the description of the objectives, the added value, the title of the program, course titles, because we need the experts of how we can reach our students better. And I mean, we are a School of Business and Economics, so of course each of the programs is gonna teach to some extent the same things. But I think where we have to be better is saying, well, this is the common body of what we as a school want to convey to each student. So these are the learning goals. But then for each of the programs also very clearly specify what is the added value, what is the unique part that you're going to learn with this program, and how does it maybe compare to other programs. And this is what I was talking before with this portfolio that has emerged organically. We haven't taken care of that well enough. And most importantly, we have not taken care of that well enough in terms of our communication. The reason why we have tracks, especially in the IB program, is because when we installed the masters, we wanted to capitalize on our really good reputation of the IB bachelor program. So we had a name in Maastricht is standing for international business, and this is why we also wanted to be recognized for that in the master programs. And the idea was having one big IB master program and then having the different tracks where students can specialize. This actually is also one of the things that we are now reconsidering, not because we have lost our reputation in IB, but because master programs need to be more specific, and it's also easier on the market for our students to explain, I have a master in accounting, for example, rather than a master in international business track accountancy. And it is true that to some extent it's easier to open a track than to open a full program. So some of the programs within IB might have been tracks rather than individual programs because the process was easier. But this is something we're going to change now. At the moment, we as a group have not decided on that yet, but if you're asking myself, my vision is that we have a two-pillar strategy. So one pillar would be the core programs that each School of Business and Economics should have, where we can compare ourselves with the best universities and actually say, hey, we are really good in these core programs as well, and we can accommodate all the wishes that students have. And then a second pillar based on thematic programs that are linked to our research themes that are mostly interdisciplinary and reflect the strengths of our school in terms of research. So for example, what we now have with management of learning, that's a combination of 3 different departments, or the human decision science, a master that is jointly done with the psychology school, where we have students coming in that have a background in economics but also psychology, and then get a broader degree but in a very specialized domain. So having these 2 pillars would be my idea. Because then on the market you can compete on comparability, meaning that we compare to a typical university with these core programs, and we can see that we can show that we're good at that. And on the other hand, we can distinguish ourselves from other schools by having very specialized programs where the idea is that if you want to study that, then Maastricht is the place to be. The one thing that should not stay the same is that, of course, students now have a better idea of what Maastricht stands for and what Maastricht offers. And the second thing is, in terms of what is not going to change, is that for whatever type of programs we offer, be it core programs or thematic programs, quality is the most important criteria for us. So high quality based on very skilled researchers will be the most important driver of our programs in any case, but then the type of admission criteria per program could be different, because also the requirements on students for these 2 different types of programs is going to be different. Look at the thematic programs. Given that they are going to be interdisciplinary, this also means that students coming in with different backgrounds have to be brought up to the same level. So let's again take the example of the Human Decision Science Master that we already have. Here we have students coming in with an economics background, but also students with a psychology background, and then both of them are going to study or have to fill the gaps that they have from the other sides. And so for these, the students that come in these programs, they of course have to have very high cognitive skills to be able to deal with that. But of course, this also holds for our core programs, but there the focus is going to be less on trying to deal with this heterogeneity, because this is what you typically not have for these core programs. So while for both types of programs, high quality of students, staff and content is going to be the most important criteria, but how we select students is still going to be left to each of these programs depending on the requirements on the students that we will pose. The idea is that if some programs are not going well at the moment, then the idea is to change them in the first place and see whether they can be brought up to speed, and also whether they still fit in the portfolio. And the good thing of closing programs is that there's going to be room for existing ones. So if a program would be closed, then the department or the people that had been working on this program are going to have the opportunity to think what new programs we can bring on the market and how they can contribute to other programs. What we do is we offer a lot of opportunities for students, one of them being a double degree program or a network program, because what we want to have, we want to prepare our students for the labor market in the best way. But it does not mean that students, if they do a regular master without any additional programs, it's minor or worse for them because they have other opportunities. We have the TIP program, yeah? So within a regular master, you can do an internship and write your thesis at the same time. You can do an extracurricular internship. You can follow other things like having an SSF project, do premium. So there are so many other things that we offer to students that do a regular master, as you say, that they can build their own portfolio of activities to promote themselves for the labor market if it's not a double degree or a network program. And I do agree, we are in times that just doing a master and doing nothing else on top of that might have a disadvantage at the labor market, because it's not us, it's also companies that expect more and more. You should have some work experience, you should have some international experience. Yes, you can gain this through this network or double degree programs, but you also can gain it by doing some charity work in Africa during summer. Yeah? Or that's as valuable as doing one of these programs. So I do not think that our students that do not do that are of minor quality. If you look at the number of students that are doing these network programs or these double degree programs, that's very, very small. So it's not we offer this to students, but a lot of students opt for different roads to come to their employability. So it's not like that students are competing on that I really have to do that. It's really an extra investment that some students do. And I would say these students mostly do not do this to increase the employability, but to gain international experience and to study a little bit more. Yeah?